He learned early how to disappear. On Station K-47, disappearing did not mean turning invisible. It meant lowering your eyes, keeping your voice calm, and never giving anyone a reason to remember your face. It meant wearing long sleeves even when the air was warm, gloves even when working with tools that demanded bare fingers. It meant never visiting the medical wing, never standing under full-spectrum scanners, and never answering questions that went beyond simple work reports. The humans on the station were already mostly ignored. That helped. They were seen as fragile, short-lived, and mostly useful for maintenance, logistics, and low-risk labor. Other species ran security, science, trade, and command. Humans fixed broken doors, replaced burned cables, and cleaned areas others did not want to enter. He fit perfectly among them. His name on paper was Elias Rowe, a human technician assigned to structural maintenance. Age listed as 32. No family. No history before Earthside refugee records. Nothing special. Nothing interesting. That was the point. Elias moved through the wide metal corridors with a tool case in one hand, head slightly lowered. His boots made soft, steady sounds against the floor. Around him, the station hummed with life. Tall, insect-like traders clicked to one another as they passed. A pair of blue-skinned navigators floated gently above the ground, their robes moving as if underwater. A group of armored security troopers marched by, their weapons resting against their shoulders. None of them looked at him for more than a second. He let out a slow breath he did not need to take. At Junction 7, a power conduit had failed again. The station's artificial gravity flickered slightly, enough to make some species uncomfortable. Elias knelt beside the open panel and began working. His gloved hands moved with calm speed, disconnecting a damaged cable and replacing it with a new one. The metal around the conduit was bent inward, crushed by a pressure surge that should have warped the entire section. It had not. A nearby alien engineer, tall and thin with 4 eyes set wide apart, paused and stared at the conduit, then at Elias. "That damage," the engineer said slowly, voice clicking through a translator. "It should have breached the wall." Elias kept his eyes on his work. "Power spikes happen," he said. His voice was quiet, human, normal, unremarkable. "Yes," the engineer replied. "But the internal frame is reinforced duranium. Even our tools cannot bend it easily." Elias tightened the last connection and closed the panel. "Must have been weakened already." The engineer studied him for another moment, then shrugged. "If you say so, human." Elias stood, lifted his tool case, and walked away before the questions could continue. Small moments like that happened more often now. Tools breaking in his hands when he was not careful enough. Floors denting slightly under his boots when gravity surged. Radiation alerts that went off around him while he felt nothing at all. Each time he hit it. Each time he adjusted. He had lived like this for years. Still, fear never fully left him, because he knew that one day hiding would not be enough. That day came sooner than he expected. The emergency alarm cut through the station without warning, a deep, pulsing sound that made the walls vibrate. Lights shifted to red. Automatic doors slammed shut in sections, sealing off corridors. Elias froze for half a second. Then he moved. "Security breach," the station voice announced. "Unidentified hostile forces have boarded through Dock 12. All personnel proceed to safe zones." Screams echoed in the distance. Heavy impacts shook the station frame. Weapon fire followed, sharp and violent. Elias turned toward the nearest shelter corridor. A group of civilians were already running, their movements panicked and uneven. Among them were humans, small reptilian clerks, and a child-sized avian species crying loudly. The ceiling above them exploded inward. Metal tore open as if made of paper. Smoke and sparks filled the air. 3 figures dropped down through the hole, landing heavily on the floor. They were mercenaries. Tall, broad, wrapped in layered armor covered with old battle marks. Their helmets hid their faces, but their posture radiated confidence and cruelty. Each carried a heavy plasma weapon. "Down!" one of them shouted. People screamed and fell to the floor. The avian child stumbled and could not get up fast enough. Elias moved before he thought. A mercenary fired. The shot tore through the air toward the child. Elias stepped between them. The blast struck his chest. There was a flash of light, a loud crack, and then silence. The shot dissipated, energy breaking apart as if it had hit a solid wall. Elias slid back half a step, boots scraping the floor. The mercenary stared. "So," the mercenary said slowly, lowering the weapon. "That was interesting." Elias looked down at his chest. The fabric of his jacket was burned, torn open. Beneath it, the disguise layer shimmered weakly, struggling to hold. Fear slammed into him. "Don't," Elias said, his voice shaking. "Please, don't look there." The mercenaries laughed. One of them grabbed a nearby alien civilian and shoved them forward. "Everyone into the center," he ordered. "We scan them, take the valuable ones, kill the rest." A scanning device hummed to life, sweeping over the group. When it passed over Elias, it screamed. The sound was high and sharp, different from any normal alert. The scanner's screen filled with symbols, then went blank. "What is that?" one mercenary demanded. Elias stepped back, heart pounding. The disguise flickered again. The air around him felt tight, heavy. "I told you," he whispered. "Please don't look." The scanner operator took a step closer. "He's not human," the mercenary said. "His density readings are impossible." The others raised their weapons. Elias closed his eyes. He remembered Earth, blue sky, rain on skin. People laughing, crying, loving, fighting, and choosing kindness even when it hurt. He remembered why he had stayed. He opened his eyes. The disguise failed. Light did not explode outward. There was no dramatic transformation. Instead, the human shape simply peeled away. The form beneath was still humanoid, but denser, sharper. His skin took on a deep metallic tone that absorbed light instead of reflecting it. Lines of faint structure moved beneath the surface, like living armor. His eyes glowed softly, not bright, not dramatic, just steady and impossibly focused. The room went silent. Even the mercenaries did not move. "What are you?" one of them breathed. Elias straightened. He was taller now. He had not chosen that. Gravity itself seemed to bend slightly around him. "I live here," he said. "I fix broken things. I don't want to hurt anyone." The mercenary leader recovered first. "Doesn't matter," he said. "Kill it." They fired. Elias lifted one hand. The plasma shot stopped midair, flattened, and vanished. The force behind them folded in on itself and disappeared without sound. The mercenaries froze. Elias stepped forward. Each step left a shallow mark in the metal floor. He moved fast, not as a blur, but as something inevitable. He struck the first mercenary with the side of his hand. The armor shattered and the body flew backward into the wall, unconscious before it hit. The second raised a weapon. Elias twisted it out of their grip and crushed it like thin glass. He struck once more, precise and controlled. The third dropped to their knees, shaking. "Please," the mercenary whispered. Elias stopped. He looked at the civilians huddled together, their faces filled with terror, not just of the attackers, but of him. Something inside him hurt more than any weapon ever could. "Leave," Elias said quietly to the mercenary. "Take your people and go." The mercenary scrambled away, dragging the others toward the breach. Silence returned, broken only by distant alarms. No one spoke. A security officer arrived moments later, weapon raised. He stopped when he saw Elias. "What happened here?" the officer asked. Elias looked down at his hands. Slowly, carefully, the disguise returned. Human skin covered metal. Light faded. He shrank back into the shape everyone expected. "I fixed the problem," he said softly. The officer stared at him, then at the damaged corridor, then at the civilians. "We will review the footage," the officer said. Elias nodded. "I understand." As he walked away, whispers followed him. "They stared, they froze, that wasn't human." Elias kept his head down. He had tried to hide. Now the station knew something was wrong. And soon, the entire galaxy would start asking the same question. What was humanity really hiding? The station did not return to normal after that. Alarms eventually stopped, damaged corridors were sealed, and security teams swept Dock 12 until no hostile life signs remained. On the surface, everything looked controlled again. But underneath the metal walls and official reports, fear spread quietly. Footage existed. Security drones had recorded everything. The moment the plasma shot vanished, the way the mercenaries had stopped moving. The figure that stood where a human should not have been. By the time Elias reached his assigned quarters, he could feel it. Eyes following him. Sensors tracking him more closely than before. Conversations stopping when he passed. He entered his room and locked the door. The room was small. A bed fixed to the wall. A fold-down table. A storage locker. It was enough. It had always been enough. Elias sat on the edge of the bed and rested his elbows on his knees. He had hoped, foolishly, that he could fix the breach, save lives, and still fade back into the background. That the station would choose safety and routine over questions. He had forgotten how curious fear could be. A soft chime sounded at his door. "Elias Rowe," a voice said through the speaker. "Calm, controlled, not hostile. This is station security. We need you to come with us." He closed his eyes for a moment. "Give me a minute," he replied. "You have 60 seconds." Elias stood and put on his gloves. He adjusted the sleeves of his jacket carefully, even though it no longer mattered. Habits were hard to break. When he opened the door, 4 security officers waited outside. 2 were human, 2 were not. That was new. The non-human officers stood slightly farther back, weapons held low but ready. Their body language was tense, restrained fear mixed with training. "You are not under arrest," said the human officer in front. Her name tag read Captain Myra Chen. "But you are required to answer questions." Elias nodded. "I understand." They escorted him through corridors he had walked 1,000 times before. But today, everything felt different. People stared openly now. No one pretended not to see him. In the central security chamber, representatives from several species waited. Station administrators, military observers, a medical officer, a scientific analyst with instruments already humming. Elias stood in the center of the room. "Please sit," Captain Chen said. "I'd rather stand," Elias replied. No one argued. "We reviewed the footage," Chen said. "All of it." Elias said nothing. "The mercenaries used military-grade plasma weapons," she continued. "Those weapons should have killed you instantly." "Yes," Elias said quietly. "You stopped them without lethal force," said one of the alien representatives, a tall being with layered skin plates. "That was unexpected." "I did not want to hurt anyone," Elias said. The scientific analyst stepped forward. "Our scanners failed when focused on you," they said. "Your energy profile does not match any known species. Your mass-to-volume ratio violates known physical limits." Elias looked at the floor. "Don't," he said softly. "Please don't look there." The words made the room uneasy. Several beings shifted uncomfortably. "Tell us what you are," Captain Chen said. "Please." Elias was quiet for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was steady but tired. "I am what happens when something powerful chooses to live small." That answer satisfied no one. An alien military observer leaned forward. "Is your kind a threat to the station?" "No," Elias said immediately. "To the galaxy?" another asked. "No. Can you prove that?" Elias lifted his head. His eyes met theirs one by one. There was no anger in them, only honesty. "I stopped the attackers," he said. "I protected civilians. I did not take control of the station. I did not escape. I am here." Silence followed. Captain Chen sighed. "For now, you will remain under protective supervision, not confinement. But you will not return to normal duties." Elias nodded. He had expected that. As they led him to a secure observation wing, word spread faster than any official announcement. By the next cycle, the station was buzzing with rumors. Some said a human had revealed himself as an ancient weapon. Others claimed humans were not real at all. A few whispered that Earth had been lying to the galaxy for centuries. On other stations, data packets began to arrive. Requests for clarification, demands for transparency. Warnings. The Galactic Council took notice. Back in the observation wing, Elias sat alone behind a transparent barrier. The material was designed to hold extreme forces. He rested his hand against it. It did not even feel solid to him. A human entered the room and stopped a few steps away. Older, worn face, civilian clothes. Name as Dr. Harlan Weiss, the man said. Human medical liaison. Elias nodded politely. I won't pretend I understand what you are, Weiss said, but I understand choice. He sat down on a chair outside the barrier. You could have left, Weiss continued. When they brought you in, when you revealed yourself, you could have gone anywhere. Yes, Elias agreed, but you didn't. No, why? Elias thought about it. I like humans, he said simply. They try, even when they are scared, even when they are weak. Weiss smiled faintly. Funny, most species see weakness as something to erase. That's why humans matter, Elias said. Across the station, reactions were less calm. A group of non-human workers refused to enter maintenance zones where humans were assigned. Security had to intervene when an argument turned violent. On a trade deck, a merchant demanded to know whether the human staff could snap the station in half. Humans themselves were confused. Most had no idea. Some laughed it off. Others felt anger at being suspected of something they did not understand. On Earth, the first reports arrived through unofficial channels. A leaked video, blurred, shaking, showing a human shape shedding its skin to reveal something else. Governments requested verification. Military analysts watched the footage again and again. One analyst paused the frame and whispered, "That's not armor." Back on station K-47, the Council's directive arrived. Elias was to be transferred, not to a prison, to a diplomatic holding facility. The message was polite, firm, unavoidable. Captain Chen delivered the news herself. They want to talk, she said, a lot of them. They are afraid, Elias replied. Yes, Chen admitted. So am I. Elias met her eyes. I won't hurt anyone. I believe you, she said, but belief doesn't stop fear. As preparations were made, something unexpected happened. A human technician, young, nervous, approached the security desk where Elias was held under watch. I saw what he did, the technician said loudly. He saved people, others gathered. He didn't kill anyone, another said. He works maintenance. He fixed my section last cycle. They were not shouting, not threatening, they were standing. Elias watched through the barrier, something heavy settling in his chest. This was what he had been afraid of, not hatred, expectation. If the galaxy learned the truth, humans would be forced to choose something they were not ready for. The transport arrived. As Elias was escorted away, he heard a child's voice call out. Thank you. He paused and turned. A small avian child, the same one he had saved, stood behind a parent, feathers puffed nervously. Elias smiled gently. You're welcome. As the doors closed and the ship lifted away from the station, Elias looked out at the stars. He had tried to live quietly. Now the galaxy was awake, and humanity was standing at the edge of a truth it had never asked to know. The diplomatic holding facility floated alone between trade routes, far from any major system. It was designed that way on purpose. Neutral space, neutral ground, thick walls, careful rules. Elias felt all of that the moment he arrived. The transport docked without ceremony. No guards rushed him. No alarms sounded. Everything was calm, controlled, and deeply tense. He stepped onto the station and felt hundreds of sensors brush against him like nervous fingers. They did not touch directly. They circled, measured, hesitated. Good, he thought. They are being careful. A tall, robed alien waited at the end of the corridor. Their species was ancient, one of the founding members of the Galactic Council. Their voice, when it came, was slow and layered. "Elias Rowe," the alien said. "Or is that name also a choice?" "It is a real name," Elias replied, "given by real people." The alien inclined their head slightly. "Then we will use it." Elias was guided into a wide chamber with a circular table. Around it sat beings of many shapes and sizes. Some were biological, some mechanical, some were hard to define even with clear sight. At the center of the table was an empty space. For him, he stood there, hands at his sides, posture relaxed but respectful. The questions began almost immediately. "How long have you lived as human?" "I will answer," he said, "but not all at once." A few council members shifted, displeased. "You are in no position to control this meeting," one said sharply. Elias met their gaze. "I am not trying to control anything. I am trying to prevent fear from deciding for you." That gave them pause. "Speak," said the robed elder. Elias took a breath he did not need. "I have lived as human for 32 years, he began. "Before that I lived as human for another life, and another, and another." The room stilled. "We are not invaders," Elias continued. "We did not create humanity. We did not modify them. Humans are human." "Then what are you?" someone demanded. Elias looked around the table. "We are what happens when a species becomes too powerful too fast." He told them the truth. Long ago, his kind had mastered energy, matter, time-limited perception. They could bend reality in small, careful ways. They solved scarcity. They solved disease. They solved war. And then they nearly destroyed themselves. Power removed consequences. Without consequences, choices lost meaning, so they made a decision. They would limit themselves, seal their abilities behind biology, live as something smaller, something fragile, something that had to care. They chose humanity not because humans were strong, but because humans were unfinished. "We joined them," Elias said, "not as leaders, as children, as workers, as neighbors. We forgot on purpose." A low murmur filled the chamber. "And now?" asked the robed elder. "Why remember now?" "I didn't choose to," Elias replied quietly. "I chose to save a child." Silence followed that. On another world far away, the effect of Elias' revelation spread. On Earth, official confirmation finally came. The footage was real. Governments released statements filled with careful language and visible panic. Military forces were placed on alert, not to attack but to prepare. Humans argued. Some were afraid. Some were angry. Some felt proud without understanding why. Most just wanted to know if their lives were still their own. In a small city, a human mother watched the news while her child played on the floor. "Mom," the child asked, "are we dangerous?" She hesitated, then smiled softly. "No, we're human." Back at the council chamber, tension rose again. "If your kind awakens," said a reptilian counselor, "what stops humanity from dominating the galaxy?" Elias answered without hesitation. "Humanity." They stared at him. "Humans limit themselves every day," he said. "They choose laws, they choose fairness, they choose to protect the weak even when it costs them. That instinct shaped us." "And if that changes?" another asked. "Then we failed," Elias said, "and we deserve the consequences." That honesty unsettled them more than any threat. The council recessed. Debate continued behind closed channels. Elias was escorted back to a quiet chamber, not a cell. A room with a window that showed stars drifting slowly past. Hours passed, then days. Delegations came to speak with him. Scientists, philosophers, military advisors. Some treated him like a weapon, others like a miracle, a few like a person. One conversation stayed with him. A small mechanical being rolled into the room, optics glowing gently. "My creators are gone," the being said. "They built me to serve. When they achieved perfection, they had no need of me." "I'm sorry," Elias said. "You chose imperfection," the being continued. "Why?" Elias looked out at the stars. "Because meaning lives there." The being processed that for a long time. While the galaxy debated, something else happened. On Station K-47, humans kept working. They fixed doors, they cleaned corridors, they helped strangers. They did not suddenly act powerful, and that confused everyone. Some alien species began treating humans differently. With distance, with caution, a few with open fear. Others watched more closely and noticed something important. Humans did not change. They were still kind, still flawed, still brave in small, stubborn ways. A trade convoy was attacked near the outer rim. Pirates expected easy targets. The humans aboard did not reveal hidden power. They coordinated, protected others, bought time until help arrived. Afterward, an alien survivor said quietly, "They could have done more." Another replied, "They did enough." Back at the council facility, a decision approached. Some members pushed for containment, isolation of Earth, monitoring of all humans. Others argued that fear-based control would cause the very awakening they feared. The robed elder requested one final meeting with Elias. "Your existence changes everything," the elder said. "Trust is fragile." "I know," Elias replied. "Will your kind awaken others?" the elder asked. Elias shook his head. "No, we will not choose for them." "And if the galaxy attacks humanity out of fear," Elias' voice softened, "then you will learn something important about humans." "What?" "They will protect each other," Elias said, "even if they don't fully understand why." The elder studied him for a long time. "You speak as if you are not separate from them." "I'm not," Elias said. "Not anymore." Outside the facility, fleets repositioned. Messages flew between worlds. The galaxy stood on the edge of something new, but no war came. Not yet, because uncertainty slowed even the boldest powers. Elias returned to his room and sat by the window. He felt tired in a way that had nothing to do with the body he wore. He had wanted to stay small. Now his choice had forced everyone else to think small too. That night he dreamed of Earth again. Rain, laughter, a broken machine fixed by patient hands, human things. When he woke, a message waited. The council had reached a preliminary decision. Humanity would not be contained, not ruled, not elevated. They would be watched. And Elias would remain as a bridge between worlds. He closed his eyes. It was not the quiet life he had chosen. But it was still a choice. And for now, that was enough. The watching did not stay quiet for long. At first, it was small things. Extra patrol ships near human colonies. Trade inspections that took longer than usual. New questions asked on forms that had never existed before. Nothing openly hostile. Nothing that could be called an attack, but humans felt it. They always did. On Earth, debates filled screens and streets. Some people demanded answers, others demanded privacy. A few demanded power they did not even understand. Most just wanted their lives to stay normal. Elias watched it all from the diplomatic facility. He was given access to public channels, filtered reports, and council summaries. He read them carefully. He listened more than he spoke. Fear, he knew, did not need violence to grow. It only needed uncertainty. The first real break came at the edge of council space. A mining world, lightly defended, mostly automated. Humans worked there alongside several alien species. It was not important enough to protect heavily. That made it a target. A coalition of fringe powers, species that had always resented the council, moved in quietly. They did not announce war. They claimed protective occupation. They said they were there to secure a potential human threat. When the council learned of it, the chamber exploded with argument. "This is exactly what we warned about," one member said. "If we do nothing, others will follow," another replied. "And if we act, we prove their fears correct," a third countered. Elias was summoned. He stood once more in the center of the chamber. He looked smaller than before, not physically but in presence. He had chosen that. "They are testing you," the robed elder said. "They are testing humans," Elias corrected. The elder tilted their head. "What is the difference?" Elias answered softly. "Humans don't know they're being tested." Images filled the air above the table. The mining world, armed ships in orbit, workers confined to zones for their own safety, human families among them, children. Elias felt something tighten inside him. "Will the council intervene?" he asked. Debate followed, long, careful, afraid. In the end, the decision was slow action, negotiation, pressure, no direct force. Elias nodded when it was over. "I would like permission to go there," he said. The chamber fell silent. "No," several voices said at once. "You are a symbol now," one counselor added. "If you appear, the situation escalates." Elias looked at them. "It already has." "You could stop them," another said, forcefully. Elias shook his head. "Then they would be right." The robed elder studied him. "If you go," they said slowly, "you must go as human." Elias met their gaze. "I always do." The transport that carried him was unmarked. No flags, no escort, just a small civilian ship. When he arrived, the mining world looked quiet from orbit. Too quiet. On the ground, armed patrols moved through streets meant for cargo loaders. Workers were herded into central areas under watch. Elias walked openly. He wore simple clothes, no disguised tech, no visible weapons. The occupying force noticed him quickly. A commander approached, tall and sharp-featured, eyes cold with certainty. "You are trespassing," the commander said. "I work here," Elias replied. "Maintenance." The commander laughed. "Not anymore." Elias looked past them at the humans standing behind barricades, tired, angry. Afraid, one human recognized him. Their eyes widened, whispers spread. "That's him." "This is not your concern." Elias shook his head. "You don't understand humans." "Oh," the commander said, "enlighten me." "You think they are dangerous because of what they might become," Elias said. "You're wrong. They are dangerous because of what they already are." The commander raised a weapon. "Enough." Elias did not move. The humans did, not with power, not with hidden strength. They stepped forward together. A human woman placed herself between Elias and the weapon. Her hands were shaking. "You don't get to hurt him," she said. Others followed. Men, women, old, young, no shouting, no attack, just presence. The commander hesitated. "This changes nothing," they snapped. "It changes everything," Elias said quietly. The occupying force tightened control after that. Curfews, restrictions, threats. But something had shifted. The humans did not resist violently. They organized. They shared food, shared information, shared hope. Alien workers began to notice. "These humans," one alien miner said to another, "they could fight." "But they don't," the other replied. "Why?" "Because they're protecting us too." That confused the occupiers. It angered them. An order came down. Elias was to be detained. When soldiers arrived, humans surrounded him again. "You take him," one said. "You take us all." The soldiers hesitated. Their weapons felt heavier now. The commander made a choice. They fired into the air. Panic spread. A crowd surged. In the chaos, a child fell. Elias moved. He did not reveal himself fully. He did not bend reality. He caught the falling debris, lifted the child, shielded those closest to him, just enough. Enough to be seen. Enough to be undeniable. Cameras caught it all. The footage spread faster than any council order. A human standing unarmed, protecting others while power trembled under his skin, and he still held back. Across the galaxy, reactions exploded. He could have destroyed them. And fear, and something worse for them, respect. Elias stayed until the last transport lifted off. Humans approached him afterward. Some thanked him, some cried, some just stood near him as if afraid he might disappear. "You didn't have to stay," one said. "Yes," Elias replied. "I did." When he returned to the diplomatic facility, the council waited. "You forced our hand," one counselor accused. Elias nodded. "Yes." "And if others do the same?" another demanded. Elias looked around the chamber. "Then you will have to decide what kind of galaxy you want," he said. "One ruled by fear or one guided by choice." The robed elder spoke last. "You limit yourself," they said, again and again, even now. Elias smiled faintly. "That's what being human means." Outside, the galaxy shifted, not toward war, but toward watching humans more closely than ever before, not to see what they could do, but to understand why they didn't. And that question unsettled them far more than power ever could. The galaxy held its breath. For years, humans had been underestimated. Fragile, short-lived, unremarkable, most species never gave them a second thought. Even now, after Elias revealed the truth about what humanity could be, the galaxy did not know how to respond. They watched, they debated, they feared. But they did not act. Elias returned to the diplomatic facility, carrying with him the quiet satisfaction of small victories. The mining world incident had proven one thing: humans did not need to fight to demonstrate their strength. Their choice to protect, to organize, and to act with compassion was enough to turn fear into respect. He walked through the observation halls, sensors humming softly as they tracked his movements. Beings of all kinds paused as he passed, curiosity mixed with unease. He did not notice. His focus was elsewhere, on the threads of communication that connected the galaxy. News channels from multiple systems broadcasted footage of humans during the mining world crisis. It showed workers helping each other, saving children, guiding the injured. It showed Elias himself shielding others with the faintest hint of his true form shimmering beneath his skin. He did not act to harm, he acted to protect. Debates erupted across worlds. Humans could have destroyed them, one alien leader whispered. And they didn't, another responded. They could have taken control. They chose not to. Everywhere, beings paused to reconsider what they thought they knew about humanity. At the council chamber, discussions turned into arguments, then into cautious proposals. Some called for strict monitoring of human colonies. Others urged patience, arguing that human restraint was proof of their maturity. Elias listened quietly, weighing every word. Finally, the robed elder spoke. Their voice carried the weight of centuries, yet trembled slightly with the uncertainty that humans always inspired. We cannot control what we do not understand. Humans choose differently. They act with morality and empathy in ways we cannot predict or imitate. This unsettles us, but perhaps that is their greatest strength. Elias nodded. Exactly. A military officer from a prominent system leaned forward. So what do we do? If humans have this potential, do we attempt to awaken it or suppress it? They are awake, Elias replied simply. They always have been, you just didn't notice. You assumed restraint was weakness. You were wrong. The officer frowned. And if they decide to act differently, if they choose domination instead of protection, Elias met their eyes evenly. Then they will face the consequences. But know this, they are unlikely to choose that path. Humanity does not act out of fear. They act out of choice. They value empathy over dominance because that is who they are at their core. A silence fell over the chamber. No one argued further. The council adjourned to consider the implications. Elias returned to his quarters, exhausted but clear-minded. For the first time in years, he allowed himself a moment of reflection. Humans continued their daily lives across the galaxy. On trade stations, in mining colonies, on distant planets where their numbers were small. They worked together, solved problems, helped strangers, and made sacrifices without anyone forcing them. Their actions spoke louder than any weapon or technology ever could. He watched a convoy passing through a dense asteroid field. Pirates had attempted to ambush it, expecting easy prey. Yet humans guided each other, covered weak points, and coordinated with nearby allies. They did not unleash hidden power. They did not seek revenge. They acted with precision and selflessness. By the time council forces arrived, the threat had been neutralized without the humans ever revealing their true potential. This pattern repeated across systems. Humans did not escalate conflicts. They did not flaunt hidden abilities. They simply chose to act with responsibility. The galaxy slowly began to understand that restraint was not weakness, it was wisdom. Even within the council, opinions shifted. Those who had advocated for containment reconsidered. Attempts to regulate or suppress humanity would likely provoke unrest, and humans had shown they did not respond to intimidation with hostility. They responded with care, strategy, and compassion. That made them unpredictable, and in the eyes of many, formidable. Elias received another message, this one directly from Earth. Their leaders had seen the footage, reviewed reports, and issued a statement. Humanity's conduct in crises was consistent with their values. They had chosen, consciously, to act in ways that preserved life, protected the vulnerable, and maintained harmony, even when capable of far more. Elias allowed himself a faint smile. For the first time in decades, he felt that the choice he had made, to live quietly among humans, to protect without revealing himself unnecessarily, had not been in vain. Humans had proven that their strength was not measured by their ability to destroy, but by their willingness to protect, to endure, and to choose morality over opportunity. And yet, he knew the galaxy would continue to watch. Fear would not disappear overnight. Doubt would linger. Some would always be curious. Others would be envious. But Elias also knew that human nature at its core was consistent. They would continue to act as they always had, not because of expectations or rules, but because that was who they were. In the quiet of his room, Elias thought about the child he had saved on the mining world. The avian child had looked up at him with wide eyes, full of awe but also trust. That trust, the faith humans placed in each other and in the goodness of strangers, was what defined them. Not power, not technology, not potential. Choice. News arrived daily from across human colonies. Reports of small acts of bravery, ingenuity, and compassion. Every incident, though minor on its own, formed a mosaic of what humanity truly was. It was subtle, almost invisible, yet undeniable to anyone willing to observe carefully. Elias spent hours reviewing these reports, not to assess human potential, but to witness it. The galaxy might have feared them, doubted them, or tried to categorize them, but he knew humans would continue to live as they always had. They would not act out of fear or ambition. They would act out of conscience and care. A council delegate asked him once more, "Will they ever reveal the full extent of their capabilities?" Elias shook his head. "Not unless they choose to. They act first to protect, not to dominate. Power is meaningless without choice, and humans respect that." He thought about the countless species that measured strength by weapons, energy output, or sheer numbers. Humans were weaker in all those conventional ways. And yet, no species had ever commanded the same level of respect, curiosity, or fear. Not because they were threatening, but because they were unpredictable in the best sense, able to act with empathy, reason, and restraint where others could not. Elias understood the truth now, more clearly than ever. Humanity had survived, thrived, and even changed the course of interstellar events not by force, but by being human. That was their greatest weapon and their greatest shield. He walked through the observation halls of the facility one last time. Beings paused as he passed, eyes lingering longer than necessary. Whispers followed him, questions, curiosity, doubt, but he did not respond. He did not need to. The galaxy had already seen enough. Elias left the facility. He returned to a human colony at the edge of known space, where he could continue to live among them quietly. Not as a symbol, not as a weapon, not as a secret to be feared, just as a human. There he found what he had always sought: small acts of courage, ordinary kindness, quiet perseverance. A mechanic fixing a broken generator while children played nearby. Traders sharing meals with those who had none. Neighbors helping neighbors recover from storms. All of it was human, ordinary, small, yet extraordinary in its consistency. A child approached him, a small hand extended. "Thank you," the child said, eyes wide. Elias smiled, crouched down, and took the hand gently. "You're welcome." The moment was quiet, but it carried weight. That was the essence of humanity, the choice to act, the decision to care, the courage to stand by one another. Not because of obligation, not because of law, not because of fear of consequences, but because of something deeper, something intrinsic. From orbit, the galaxy watched. Fleets and diplomats, scouts and analysts all observed humanity, some with fear, some with envy, some with awe. They had seen the power humans could wield and the restraint humans exercised. They had seen that even when capable of unimaginable feats, humans chose empathy, cooperation, and morality. Elias looked out at the stars, feeling the quiet hum of countless systems watching and waiting. He knew that this was only the beginning. The galaxy would continue to test, to observe, to doubt. But it would also learn slowly that humanity's greatest strength was not in what they could do, but in what they chose not to do. And humanity would endure, because they had chosen to be human. Elias closed his eyes, breathing deeply. For the first time he felt at peace. The galaxy might fear them, respect them, or misunderstand them, but humans had proved in their quiet, unwavering way that they were more than anyone had ever realized. He walked among them, invisible in plain sight, and smiled, not because he was powerful, not because he was unique, because humanity had already shown the galaxy what it meant to be human, and that was enough.